Hey, this is Sir Charles Carey. I want you to join me on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. for the Tru-Mu podcast, True Music. That's where we talk about all things.
I'm a musician, singer-songwriter, producer, engineer.
All things creative.
Me and my co-host, Carl T. Smith, the smooth one, will be glad to hear you, glad to talk to you, answer your questions, and talk all things music. The Tru-Mu podcast, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. Be part of the energy.
I can see that thing that makes men stop, stand still, all in denial, suffer loss of will.
Hey, this is Sir Charles Carey. I want you to join me on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. for the Tru-Mu podcast, True Music. That's where we talk about all things.
I'm a musician, singer-songwriter, producer, engineer.
All things creative.
Me and my co-host, Carl T. Smith, the smooth one, will be glad to hear you, glad to talk to you, answer your questions, and talk all things music. The Tru-Mu podcast, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. Be part of the energy.
I can see that thing that makes men stop, stand still, all in denial, suffer loss of will.
Sir Charles Carey at your service, and no one other than the smooth one. What's going on, Carl?
What's up? Hey, man. Same old.
It's all good.
Same old stuff.
Same old. Huh?
Yeah,
Can't
man.
kill it, won't die.
There you go.
Look, I heard that story before. It's all good. But look, man, we've had a lot of different topics. We've had DJs, we've had singers, and AI producers, songwriters. A plethora MCs, a plethora of different talent and creatives on the show. Authors, I forgot authors. We're going to have some more authors coming up in the not too distant future. And the thing is, I was like, what could we talk about or discuss that would be different? And I thought about songwriting, but hey, we did that already. So what else? And one of the things that I thought was important, because we're musicians, we're writers and producers and all that. Why not talk about the big dance, live performances? And, I think that's a really, not just a hot topic, but a realistic one, and one that may be able to add value to someone that's just starting, or maybe someone like us. They've been doing it for a while, and maybe need to hear it from a different perspective, some of the different nuances. Yeah, man. I mean, I know you're.
I don't know anything about live performances or anything like that, but I'll do my best.
Well, because you're only 21, you probably have limited exposure and experience, but I'm sure you can pull something out the bag.
Very, very limited. Very, very limited.
Well, I wanted to start out by asking, as it relates to live performances, I mean, I know my perspective and I definitely want to share, but I want to get your feedback. What is the process? Do you do track dates? You ever play with pre-recorded music and singing and stuff like that?
Sure. Yeah, I've done plenty of track dates. Matter of fact, if you I didn't see it had the thing at the bottom. Okay. If you plan to get out in this music business or anywhere, there are gonna be times where you just can't have a whole live situation and lights and cameras, lights and action and all that other stuff like that. So yeah, you gotta do track dates. I mean, even television, if you go on some shows on television, you gotta have a track, So sure, certainly.
Why certainly, right? But I've even seen people like some of today's top artists, Chris Brown and many others. They use tracks along with live musicians on maybe certain segments of the show or certain songs. Is that something that you're familiar with, that people actually do that, artists?
Sure. I mean, they've been doing that for decades. what happens is there's a, especially if you're an artist that do a lot of movement, a lot of dance steps and stuff, you got to make sure that you deliver the vocals, and you deliver the vocals while you're, spinning on your back and all that other stuff like that. So what they do is, they fly those vocals in so that they can do the dance move, so that the visuals would be consistent.
Man, being that you're like a sound man, producer, singer, lyricist, artist, you didn't tell me that I had that option when I did the show in the Bronx, because I would have definitely spun on my head.
Because the people in the crowd wanted to know, like, why is he still standing? You know what I'm saying? Why is he still standing? I thought you said he was going to spin on his head.
Right. No,
I said, wait a minute, it's coming. Give it a second.
Right.
But then when it didn't happen, I had to go duck out and hide because,
But now, when it's not a track date, or when you're doing a performance, performing for an audience, of course, regardless of how big the stage is or how many people, but you want to have, live musicians. What is the process? How do you get live musicians to play for you?
Well, how do I get them to play? Well, these days, it's quite different than the days that I'm used to. These days, what I like to do is find somebody who's connected with a group, and then they'll pull together the group and work out all the parts and stuff like that. A lot of times, though, I have to find the musicians and pull them together and get into the studio and rehearse.
Well, where do you find them, though? I mean,
Well, fortunately, with my limited time in the music business, I've run into quite a few musicians.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're unable to do it, they'll know somebody else who can do it, or something like that.
So it's kind of like a word of mouth, or it's based on experience.
Basically, for me, has been kind of word of mouth kind of thing. There's a lot of musicians that's around. I mean, there are some that'll work with you, and then there's some, and there's what I call them hired guns. There's some that just play if you pay them, and which is cool, which is okay. It's just that I've found that a lot of times with that, I get okay results because it takes time to work out parts and to.
Oh, you mean when you have to pay them?
The hired guns, because the hired guns don't want to rehearse. They don't want to do anything. They just want to come in and get paid. They don't even care how the quality goes with this stuff. They just know that they're your musicians, and we just want to get it done and get paid at the end of the night. They want to come in and hit the end of the night. If they could do that, that'll suit them fine. See, I want to play, so I want to play, and I'm concerned about what I'm going to play.
So there's no vetting process for the hired guns, or?
I mean, there are some, but basically, most of those guys, they want to do, how many rehearsals we going to have, and I do 1.5 rehearsals, and that's it, that kind of stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not a rehearsal fanatic. But
it should be tight.
Huh?
It should be tight. The set.
Well, it should be, but you gotta understand. No, I gotta understand that the musicians aren't. A lot of the musicians aren't looking at this as a career situation. They're looking at it as a paid situation. They're looking at it as, I mean, most of these guys, or most of the people that I see, they do top 40, a lot of top 40. They learn 30 songs, they go do 4 or 5 sets, and and they already know half the stuff that's been played on the radio. So there's no need to do like 4 or 5 rehearsals or anything like that, because they already know the song. They just give me the list and that's it. But if you want to do like, I'll have usually I'll set up my lights and I'll set up everything. So I have like hits and changes and mood changes and stuff like that. And that on the other end, that's the national artist kind of stuff. That's when you out there on the road and you got a show that you produce in every city. To get that, every time I've been on the road, it took some rehearsing and, getting used to the set and getting used to the different things that you have to do.
Yeah, because you got different arrangements sometimes, or, and not to mention, suppose you're doing original material or some original material.
Well, I mean, but that's all that's my main focus is original material. Which was the other thing that I was going to hit after that was, a lot of them are I'm going to say afraid to do original material. You know what I'm saying? They shy away from original material and they rather do the top 40 gig,
Right.
Which can only take you but so far.
Okay. Now, do you ever use dancers in your performances, whether it's a big full-fledged show or you use backup singers? How do you work with, or how do you get singers and dancers?
Pretty much the same way. And I have worked with dancers, always, background singers and stuff like that, but pretty much the same way, kind of like the word of mouth, since I'm, in the pool where I see people constantly.
So have you, and then maybe this is just me, but there was a time when I remember musician is a musician, true. However, a lot of musicians play in churches, and there was a time that I knew that church musicians were church musicians. Now it seems like church musicians are playing any and everywhere.
Well, hired guns, you know what I'm saying? It's all about making that quick buck, at the moment, and it's like we do a lot of concerts and stuff and things with church musicians, and a lot of them bounce from church to church because the other church pays a little more, or this church isn't paying, or what I'm saying? It's the loyalty thing, the bar is low. It's it's just about money. There's times, like you said, a church musician, they play for their church forever. Now it's kind of like, well, they pay me more over here. Matter of fact, I know some musicians, some church musicians that play for 2 or 3 or 4 different churches on the same Sunday.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it isn't that you're playing for the church, that you, or whatever the church is that you're a part of. You're not playing that. You really ain't a part of any of them. You're just playing where the money goes.
Another hired gun scenario.
Hired gun.
So again, rehearsals are usually limited because I got a show coming up in about a week or so, and that's one thing that we're faced with. I figure at least 2 to 3 rehearsals should be sufficient if the musicians have done their work and if the vocals and quote unquote dancers are ready. But yeah, I know we're gonna have one rehearsal, and it's kind of crazy because I don't know how to say it. They I mean, we're ready, but it's nothing like having that thing totally cohesive, knowing that it's what you want it to be. It's nothing like being locked down in that space. Yeah. But yeah. So, I'm looking to have a list of things that are related to live performances, and I've experienced some of the same things that you've experienced with putting pieces together. I've got some pieces from my show, which was funny. I had about 3 bands in one for the show we did in March, and the initial crew sort of dissipated. There was some referrals to some new members from the existing guys, and then the referrers to the new guys, they dissipated, and those new guys gave birth to yet another set of musicians, and that was the final group. And they're all good musicians, no question, no ifs, ands, and buts.
Sure.
But many of them were top tier. I mean, they playing at some of the top venues around the city, as well as churches and stuff like that. So, but yeah, man, wow. So my next question is like showtime. Okay, so when it's showtime, do things go awry? Have you experienced like?
Oh, you can't ask me that. Usually, most of the time, I'm pretty much setting up stuff and doing everything anyway. So I've come to the realization that everything, when it goes awry, that's normal, because I'm not, I'm usually doing everything and setting up everything and coming through and trying to make sure that everything goes smooth and stuff like that. But usually by showtime, I'm hoping, I got my fingers, my eyes crossed, everything crossed, hoping that it's going to go through. And of course, something's going to happen. Like as we were doing in Rafael Hernandez, usually I'm running, if I'm doing something, I'm running the stage, I'm doing stuff. So when my mic went out,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's like, now I'm trying to figure out like to fix the mic, but I'm performing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Where was my crew when the mic went out? Nowhere to be found. So I begin to realize I'm the guy who fixes the stuff so that everything goes smooth.
I think once upon a time there were people that had a passion for singing, people that had a passion for playing whatever the instrument was. The dancers were passionate about dancing. The sound men or the sound people were passionate about sound, and the stage managers were passionate about being the stage manager because that was their space to command.
Mm-hmm.
Now there doesn't seem to be any true passion or loyalty for anything unless there's this high valued, high ticket price, and then it's still a maybe. And
no, I was gonna say that, not to cut you off, but that high ticket, the more you pay, the more disappointed I am, because if I'm paying you, a high price, I'm expecting smoothness. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I become more discouraged because of that. So I think, which then makes it a little hard for me to because I've paid people quite handsomely, but a whole lot better than they paid me to do stuff, and right. Still, there was problems.
Wow.
It's like I don't get it, but.
Is there a difference between an engineer and a sound man?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So what's the sound man do?
Yes. Well, the sound man, the sound man, I'm trying to figure out how to say it real.
Sets up and puts stuff together.
The sound man gives you sound. He gives you sound. He produces sound and stuff. But there's a lot more to just producing sound, just getting sound out the speakers. And there's a lot of people, a lot of sound people who produce sound, but there's a craft in producing sound that people can listen to over a long period of time.
What do you mean by that?
Well, there's certain frequencies and certain stuff, certain frequencies and certain tones and things like that that I can't listen to for a long period of time. I know some sound guys when they mix, I cannot be in the audience when they mix. It's ear piercing. It's or too bassy, or you know what I'm saying, to the point that if you listen to it for, I say, if you listen to it for 10 minutes, you get a ringing in your ear. The difference between that guy and an engineer is he engineers those sounds. He engineers that sound so that when you listen to it, you can listen to it for the whole concert.
So would it be safe to say that a sound man, generally speaking, is a guy that maybe puts the stuff together, the equipment together, the gear together to make sure that everything's connected and it can produce sound, and the engineer maybe has more responsibility on the balance of the sound?
No, the sound guy, usually if most of the sound guys, they would be running the board. The crew would help, or the crew would put the thing together, and then the sound man would come in and EQ and do all the preparations and stuff for sound. But it's sort of like there's a difference between a teacher and an instructor. The teacher just teaches you whatever it is, however it goes, but the instructor gets into the nuts and bolts and the fine tuning and everything, and creates a way for you to understand, or a way for you to listen, or you know what I'm saying, a way for you to get the full value
right
of whatever you're doing. Usually if you're mixing, if I'm mixing, I'm trying to make that live sound come out of those speakers as if it was a live recording.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, there are some certain things that I hear that sound guys, when they do it, I hear the bass speakers flapping.
Okay, because it's so strong, so loud, or
well, it's flapping because the one of the frequencies that they're using is punching those speakers, which is going to bust those speakers if it gets loud enough.
It's like an 808 sound on steroids.
Well, not even an 808. It's like it sounds like a fart in the middle of your kick.
Okay.
It's like clap, clap. You hear that.
Oh yeah, I've heard that before for sure. Yeah,
man. But well, then that's not good.
Right. We had a couple of comments. I see Tigressa. She's an outstanding vocalist from the DMV, primarily known in the DMV. She says, yes, people have to be loyalty, and there's seemingly a lack of loyalty based on what our conversation was, and that it's probably nearly non-existent. She also says she has a different take on rehearsals. And I know she's got a show coming up. It's a one night only show. First of all, she does her own stuff. Wonderful vocalist, wonderful voice. But she also does songs of Natalie Cole, and she does an outstanding job. Yeah, I believe I do have the flyer. I don't have the date, but Tigressa, if you're still online, please feel free to type in the chat when your performance is, so we can give it a shout out while we're here having this discussion on live performances. What else does she want to say? Oh, she loves the conversation. Thank you for being here and sharing your time, because you are a skilled artist, skilled musician, vocalist, and I know you've had and heard your fair share of sound checks, rehearsals, on-road live performances, and you've been around the country doing the same thing that Carl and I've done. So I definitely respect your perspective for sure. And yeah, and she's talking about skill set too. Skill set is so crucial, but just sad that people don't have the passion for the craft. Well, I can't say they don't, but they don't seem to be as passionate before, because everyone wants to be popular versus true to the purpose, music. It's sounding right. July 26th, right? Because it's the same day. I've got a gig that same day. She's got a gig July 26th in Owings Mills, Maryland, at the what is it called? The Gordon Center. Yeah, by all means. Yeah, if you guys are checking this out, and before the 26th, of course, please go check out Tigressa Sings, because she does an outstanding job of Natalie Cole songs as well as her own material. And if you're not able to make that, come check me out at the Elks Lodge in Temple Hills, Maryland. We're doing a tribute to the Whispers. That was a unintentional commercial, but that's just what it is. We do what we do. But yeah, so now what about sound checks? I know sometimes, how early should a sound check before a show?
I mean, as early as possible, if you can get it as early as possible, but it just depends on what's available. I mean, in most situations, I figure the latest you should do a sound check, and I say a sound check because a lot of people, when they come to do a sound check, they rehearse for an hour and a half, and that's not a sound check.
Yes, exactly.
That's a rehearsal.
Exactly.
But I figured if you come in 2 hours, at least 2 hours, because at least an hour or so before, or hour or so before the doors open, you need what they call a dead stage. You need it quiet in there. You know what I'm saying?
And I won't say I hate it, but for lack of a better or more professional term, I hate doing a sound check when people are there to see the show or in attendance.
Unfortunately, listen, you know what? I scratched my head many times, a whole lot of times, where we're setting up for the show and they're rehearsing.
Right.
While the people are coming in and sitting down and they're rehearsing in front of the people. And I'm saying, like, yo, this should be over. And then they come back and play the songs that they've rehearsed in front of the people.
Now, if you remember when we did the show in New York, I knew there were some people in the audience, and I didn't really know who was who exactly, but I know there were some there to see the show, which is why when we did the sound check, what I did was an off-putting, what are you going to do? What you want to do? I wanted to just hear the quality of the sound, the playback, and I wanted to hear how well I could hear myself. I didn't want to go through the whole song. I just want to give a little something so I can get a feel for, okay, I can work with this, because there were people already in the seats, and I'm like, I don't know who's here for the show, who's a roadie. I have no idea. So that's why I took that approach.
But that's a sound check. You know what I'm saying? I mean, a quick sound check, because time kind of didn't provide for it, but that's a sound check.
Yep, it's almost showtime. Let's not get into this too deep. Let's just get what we need out of it and get ready for the show.
Can you hear the music? All right, good.
Exactly.
Check. Good. That's it.
Tigressa says at 1 hour at least before doors opening. In that part, do not misunderstand. Before doors opening. That means the only people should be there are the crew and maybe other artists.
That's it. Well, that's why I say 2 hours, because
right
before the doors open, at least a half an hour, you gotta clear that place.
And she's also saying it's important also for each musician and vocalist to have individual sound check. Okay.
Well,
now, go ahead.
The problem with sound check, a lot of people don't understand how to do this. Mm-hmm. The vocalists will get up there and they will work on, how they want it to sound. Mm-hmm. The problem is that when the band gets to playing, that sound check, because I get a lot of I like when I get the vocalist to look like they flying, trying to tell me to turn it down, right? Because that turn it. I get them when I get them, they be like, turn it down, which means that I have that much headroom. when the band comes, so now they're comfortable and they hear whatever it is. But when the band comes, the band for some reason um, plays louder than they normally would. So now you have the situation where the vocals were good, the band comes to play. Now you got to turn the vocals up, but the band is playing so loud that I have to turn the vocals up even further. And now you're fighting trying to keep it from feedback. And because now it's so loud that when they whisper, you can hear them breathe.
So even if you were to turn the band down, because most musicians have individual volume, they're going to probably turn themselves up anyway, right?
Well, the big problem there's two instruments, and I'm not going to point any fingers at any instruments right now, but there's two instruments, the bass player and the guitar. I'm not pointing any fingers, that won't turn down.
Yeah, no.
Every gig that we do, and I'm doing a lot of gigs, a lot, for the summer and stuff, play my band, everybody, the bass player is playing as if you needed to hear the bass from his amp. Well, back in the day, you wasn't going through a PA. So the instruments would have to play from the stage, and that's why everybody played so loud.
Gotcha.
But now everybody is mic'd and everybody's plugged into the system. They plugged in direct. So you don't have to be that loud.
And that was a conversation we had today. It was a rehearsal for the vocalist. Again, we're doing a tribute for the Whispers on July 26th. And the guys are like, look, we're going to get one rehearsal with the band, which is not quite enough in my mind. Two, at least minimum two. But the issue was, okay, we got to hope that the band isn't going to challenge the vocalist. And since all the vocalists there are experienced vocalists, I know, in my opinion, I know how to control a band. If I get the drummer's ear,
unplug them. That's what you do.
Well, that would be one good thing. But if I can get the drummer's ear, I can help. It helps makes my job easier. But they don't always listen to the drummer, and I know that. But because you get a drummer to break them down, but everybody don't listen to accents and hits and stuff like that. Like you said, they're always trying to play loud. And in my early years, that was one of my biggest challenges with my band in New York. We didn't have an engineer. We didn't really have great equipment. So they're excited. They're playing loud. And I got the thing on 8 and I'm got the reverb and I'm, yelling, basically trying to sing. There's no technique, So what else did Tigressa say? She made another comment. Make sure each have what we need in our monitors. That's a good point. Now, do you use in-ear monitors or standard floor monitors, or any at all?
Me?
Yeah, when you're doing a gig.
It'll be both. It'll be both. I got in-ear monitors. I got a whole in-ear thing over here. I have floor monitors and things like that. We do side fills and again the stage, the sound on the stage. It all depends on who's engineering that sound on the stage. You know what I'm saying? Because I do a lot of these gigs, and they the sound on the stage gets kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that they kind of use now is in-ears, but they're P16s, which the musicians can adjust their own levels in their ears.
Does it give a true reading though if they're able to do that?
Some of those and some of the ear pieces and stuff, they're very good. They give you the rooms, the room sound. They give you the frequencies and all that other stuff. But even with the in-ears, the bass player and the guitarists, they have to be loud. You know, everything has to be loud. And
We don't want to call anybody out though.
I'm not pointing no fingers at the bass player and the guitars. I'm not pointing any fingers at them. You know, but you know, they're kind of loud. One of the things that I figured that I was going to do is I bought these things because I'm gonna try them out. But these are the airborne headphones.
Are they Bluetooth or something?
Well, I didn't get Bluetooth. I got wired. But what they are they don't go in your ear. They go on the side.
On the side.
They
Okay.
go here. So I'm gonna model them for you.
Okay.
So they go on the side, so my ear is still open.
Okay.
Right. So this is something I'm gonna try, but so far I'm good because I've used it just to handle my keyboard, you know, putting my keyboard in my ear so that I can have whatever I want.
Nice.
But what it does is it gives me the ability to hear outside, but also the monitor would go in and through the bone, you know, thingy, you get the recording also.
Okay. Do you have a preference? Floor monitors versus in-ears. Do you have a preference? So Gressa said both.
I don't have a preference, but I think I use more. I don't need to hear myself as much as I need to hear like other stuff. So as long as I'm not blasting my own self in my ear, either one is fine with me as long as she's not blasting in my ear.
She's asking what kind are they again?
These are what they call airborne sport. Yeah, I just picked up a quick one to test it to see if it's good, but I think I ordered this on eBay.
Okay, good price range, or is it
well, these are inexpensive. You know, these things was inexpensive, but they have better quality and stuff like that. And actually, I figured it out because Kevin has those. He wears those all the time for his phone.
So you said airborne bone or earbone?
AIR.
Okay, airborne. Right. Airbone.
BONE. Yeah. I mean, that's this particular.
That's that brand. Okay.
That's that. Yeah, that's that one. Oh, that's backwards anyway, right?
Yeah. Never
backwards.
Sure.
Yeah, it's backwards. Well, it's backwards on my screen.
No, it's not. Airbone sports headphone. Yep.
Those right. I mean, they have different ones and things like that. But like I said, I this was a concept that I figured could be beneficial to people who, you know, especially vocalists.
Right.
You know, because you get I don't know, a lot of times when you're listening to in-ears, sometimes you don't hear anything from the outside, you know, and sometimes some people like to hear their voice in the room, you know, their voice in the room as well as hear it in the monitor. So this is an experiment that I'm going to use in the next, you know, in the near future. But so far it worked for me for playing keys.
So another question as we, you know, walk down this laundry list of, you know, live performance, you know, I don't know if I should say how easy is it, or are you the kind of artist when it comes to when you're not writing a song and you're actually performing a song, are you the type of artist that can get the crowd or your audience engaged, or, you know, do you have the wherewithal to get them to participate with you?
I hope so, but yeah. But then, you know, what the other part of that goes into that is also that it just depends on the audience that's there, or the audience that what they expect from you. So for instance, if they expect you to spin on your head and all that other stuff, then no matter what you do, it's not going to be good enough. You know what I'm saying? If you're supposed to be a smooth operator, then they don't want to see you spinning on your head. They want you to be smooth.
Right.
So it all just depends on the audience and what they're expecting from you when they get there, or your persona, or your persona, or what's your what's your thing, if you're a cool kind of artist, or I mean, if you were the Whispers, but you doing the show as like you're doing Bobby Brown, the audience is really not that kind of audience, so it ain't gonna go too well.
Right. I look at the stage itself, the venue itself, because when you have a stage like your standard stage, versus a dinner theater or a ballroom, for instance, sometimes it may be different, not difficult necessarily, because it all depends. Are you being filmed? Are you not being filmed? Engaging the audience. I know how to engage the audience, whether I'm close or within arm's reach, as well as when I'm on the stage. But sometimes if you don't really have your show really planned out in the song selection, it can be a little challenging getting them involved. But I like to talk to the people too. So that's one of the techniques I use, especially if it's a live band versus a track, because if it's a track, I need my sound guy or my engineer to know what I'm doing and when I'm taking a pause and when release the next song,
Yeah. Well, again, it just depends on the type of crowd it is. Also,
Yeah.
the type of crowd it is. It depends on your what you're even if they don't know you, what you're known for, and it also depends on whether or not they know the songs that you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're doing, I mean, I'm usually, most of the time, I mean, I do both, but most of the time I'm pushing my releases.
Right.
So it isn't so easy to do it, but I've had a whole place. I've done La La Means I Love You, and the whole place is singing.
Oh, okay.
So those kind of things is easy to pull them in. Talking to them, yes, those kind of things, bringing up some kind of interaction with them, yeah, making them laugh, yeah, but getting them to sing along, if they know the song, or if they don't know the song, unless it's real.
Well,
real
knowing you though for the past 40 years, Carl, you have always been pushing and promoting original material, which is to me, it's a smart thing, because in the speaking industry, on the other side of my life, I remember someone telling me if two of us are the same, one of us is not needed. However, there are people that love to hear those classics, and I've heard you do some of those as well. How do you create your set list? Do you only focus on the originals? Do you throw in covers? Do you mix and match? How do you do yours? For me, I know I try to start with something familiar and end or close to ending with something familiar. How do you do yours?
It just depends. It depends on what the show is going to be about, and it depends on what the show is going to be about. But I mix in some of some covers and original stuff. I mix them in, but and once again, it just depends on, because usually I'm looking at it as a show, not just a performance. I'm looking at it as a show. I usually have stuff that I want to do, accents that I want to hit, things I want to, things that's going to increase the
engagement.
Engagement, but the enjoyment of the event, of the show.
Okay. Now, how are you with reading your audience? Like, if I don't know, let's say you're doing an original or cover, can you tell when they're really into what you're doing, or does it matter? You just had to continue on with the with your set as designed, or how do you handle that?
Now I usually could tell. I can tell before I walk on there what kind of crowd this is going to be. What kind of crowd. Well, I can guess what kind of crowd. You never know until you get up there. But I can tell, what it is. I also have had experiences where it was a quick thing. You do two or three numbers and whatever, and I'm thinking like, well, they wasn't really into it, so therefore, it wasn't of their liking. And then later on, the people come over, oh, you're so great, and I'm like, well, your face was twisted, like I was cursing at you.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
But which is one of the things that I don't understand is if I go to a concert, I want you to sing to me. I want to feel it. So what I'm finding out now is that if you sing to people these days, they're uncomfortable. So therefore, and I've been told this by quite a few people who, after the thing, they was, well, I enjoyed your thing, but I just felt uncomfortable when I felt the vibe and I felt uncomfortable. So therefore, they shy away, and I'm like, well,
were they with their spouse, or
they with their spouse? They without their spouse. They with I got sand in the beach coming with me. Let everybody know, like, listen, I'm not here to pick up anybody. I'm here to perform for you and give you a good time. You know what I'm saying? And even with that, they feel uncomfortable. It's just that kind of thing. Everybody has a space that they want to keep.
I've experienced that on the speaking side of the house more. And it was more of, I don't know if they mentally zoned out because their facial expression did not show that they were attuned. And then afterwards, like you said, they told me how good it was for them. And I'm thinking all along, you don't like it. But when it comes to singing, I haven't quite experienced that. And I'm kind of glad I haven't, because, everyone wants to feel appreciated. And you also want to feel that you're doing a good job. So I got a good tip from Kim. He just recently left Motown after I don't know how many years, and the band was playing one of his songs, and he hadn't gotten into the song yet, and he was like, "Ladies, y'all like this and that and whatever," and they was, of course, yeah, and he said, "Fellas, look, let me tell you something. Don't get mad at me. This is for you. I'm setting this up for you. So when you leave here, she's all yours anyway. I'm going home to mine,
I've done that before. No, mine right here. I've done that before.
Yeah.
But still, it's just that there's this, I guess, uncomfortableness about space, I guess. I don't know.
At the same time, what we do, Tigressa, you, myself, we're trying to provide enjoyment, entertainment. We're trying to provide an opportunity for people to have a good time. And the world is on its head now. And I think I can't say that it's only happening right now, but some people may find it difficult to really let go, to be comfortable. She says, try not to confuse a person's resting face for anything else. Laugh out loud. She's
right. You're right about that. I tell you.
Yeah.
But
I'm trying to give people the benefit of the doubt and realizing the reality of the world that we live in today is probably so freaking challenging. Thinking about paying your bills, you get an opportunity to go out and have a good time. Can you have a good time? Can you really enjoy yourself? Do you have a babysitter waiting? Did you have the tickets ready for the show? But meanwhile, you got to pay this bill and, whatever. I don't know. But these are some of the realities that being adult, as my daughter informed me about this word I had not heard, adulting, right? Being an adult, we have to deal with all these life realities, experiences, and who knows.
True.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you know, I still enjoy music immensely. You know, I've got 2 new tracks that have not even been released yet. I can't wait to release them. I'm working towards new concepts for videos, and honestly, I want to do at least 4 more songs before I release any of them. Let the ones that are currently out continue in rotation. I did notice a spike from the attention the last album got and the current singles have gotten thus far. And I know you're working on some new material. How's that coming along for you?
Coming along very well. I mean, the other thing that I'm actually working on is remixing a lot of the old tunes, or remixing a lot of the tunes that I have.
Is that for re-release or like remastering? What's the purpose of that with the old songs?
Different versions, different kind of versions, remixing and different versions of it, stuff like that. I was listening to a lot of old recordings of a lot of the tracks that are released now, and how different they were, or how different they are now. And some of the stuff I was like, why did I change this? I don't understand. So
you're probably a perfectionist, like a lot of artists.
Yeah. So I'm back in, probably relaying some of that stuff and re-releasing, releasing some of that stuff to some of the people who are, especially the people on the mailing list, people on my mailing list or things like that. And I got a little bit of fans, I guess, so they would enjoy those things, and some of the people that had some of the older versions of this stuff.
I tell you, man, your first 3 albums, I know it goes back a ways, but I think your first 3 albums had at least, if I were to be realistic, I say if you took a third from the first 3 albums, I think those 1/3 from each album would make a smashing album today if you're going to remaster or re-record or anything, because Baby Be Mine, It's My Turn, I think all those songs are really saying something. So that sort of leads to my next question before we get out of here. How do you look at yourself? And I know it's easy for us to say, oh, I'm great, I'm fantastic, but how do you look at yourself as a lyricist, singer, songwriter, and producer today? Do you think that you've improved over the years, or you think you've leveled out with that same level of professionalism?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think I'm that great. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I'm that great. I mean,
well, I hope you're not talking to yourself, because you don't need to hear that.
Listen, I don't think I'm that great. I mean, I know that. Here's the thing with me. I know I'm good at what I do.
Okay.
I know I'm good at what I do, and I know, that I can do those things well. But I also know that there are a whole lot of people who probably can deliver it better than I.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And I'm fine with that. The only reason why I started doing anything was because I was paying for studio time, and musicians and singers didn't show up, or they were giving me problems. So while I'm there, I'm paying for the time. So I started doing it. I go, well, okay, I'll release it. Then I started a label, and then I started, production, and each thing has grown from necessity. So I definitely have grown. I listened to, like I said, I was listening to some old tracks today, and I'm hearing the same kind of production, except that I'm doing a lot less now than I was doing before. So it's more commercial than anything now.
Okay.
But I'm great. I'm not. No, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I know I'm good at what I do. I know I'm real good at what I do. But I think a lot of times I'm looking at stuff and I go, you know what? Somebody else could deliver this really well. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Tigressa, if you're there, I'm just curious, do you have any new material coming out? And if so, please let us know what you're working on, and where we can find your material or when your next release will be coming out. The same question I asked you, Carl, I'll be honest with you, for as far as myself, I've been in love with music ever since I was born. I know my family's been in it forever, but when I was younger, much younger, I did not have the confidence and I did not have the know-how. And now, of course, that I'm a lot older, I have the confidence, I have the know-how, and regardless of the level of talent that I still am holding on to, I'm not going to let that stop me from moving forward, because I know there are people that are much more talented than I, but they're sitting on the sidelines, just giving opinions or humming and moaning and groaning and thinking they're too old and they're this and they're that. And I'm like, just do the damn thing. Just do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
I agree.
Oh, to Regressa, she says she's writing now, first quarter 2026. So we may be getting some new music from her. That should be nice. I remember the first time I heard her song, I think it was called A Minute With You. I was in the car. This is before Donnie Simpson retired. And they played her song. And my lady and I, Sharon, we were coming home from work. I was still in the workforce at the time. And her song came on the radio. And we both, Sharon and I both, we like, wow, that's nice. And, I bought the song. And actually, I think I bought the album, honestly. And it was like, wow, this is nice. And she was gigging then, like all over the hot spots in the DMV. But man, I love to open up for her sometime, with some of the stuff that I'm doing, or even covers, whatever. But she's got a nice sound, and I think you'd like it. If you look her up, it's called, I believe, A Minute With You. Tigressa. I don't know if she's using Tigressa Sings Natalie or she's using her full name. But oh yeah, you're welcome, no doubt. But look her up. Maybe go to her Facebook page and you'll see a little bit more about her release and things she's done thus far. And then we'll look forward to your upcoming work and the first quarter of the year, Tigressa. So, but thanks. A Minute With You. That's it. A Minute With You, Tigressa. That's the name of the song that I first heard. And like I said, again, we look forward to hearing your upcoming release, Tigressa. And Smooth One, Carl T. Smith, we look forward to hearing your upcoming release, remasters or re-releases, whatever they may turn out to be. And trust and believe, Sir Charles Carey's got 2 in the can that have not been released, and I'm working on a few others along with He's the One and What Can I Do? And there's a couple of that I put out after the Charismatic album. So look, you got to stay in it. You got to keep writing. You got to keep producing. You got to keep performing and doing what you love. And there's no doubt that all of us really love this game called music. TigressaMusic.com. Folks, check her out. And remember, go see her on July 26th. I had it up here queued up. She'll be at the Gordon Center in Owings Mills, Maryland. One night only. So check this out. And again, if you cannot check that out, please feel free to check out my show, which is a tribute to the Whispers. It's not my show per se. The show is by the Joe Cheney Band with Kevin Petty and oh man, Dean's going to kill me. And Dean McCall, is it McCullough? Let me see, what's Dean's last name? Dean is like a DMV staple. He really gets it, and he does the damn thing like none other. He sings with the Intruders and many other groups. Dean Kavanaugh, Kevin Petty, Joe Cheney, and myself, Sir Charles Carey. We will be performing at the Elks Lounge in Temple Hills, Maryland, a tribute to the Whispers. Hit me up, and I will send you the information so that you can get your tickets. It's it's going to be a banger. That's what we do. That's what we love. My man Greg Birch. Greg's got a new song out too. He just produced not too long ago. But with that being said, folks, any closing remarks, Carl?
Just keep on doing what we're doing. That's it.
Keep on doing it, doing it, doing it. What you doing, baby? Absolutely. So with that being said, we're out of here. You guys remember, be part of the energy. Yes.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
You're sexy, so good to me.